Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight here on America Winning Coalition Live with our weekly briefing. We have a lot to talk to you about tonight, and there's something, folks, that's going on that you may not be aware of, but you're going to find out tonight. The mainstream media has not said much about what's going on that could affect our U.S. military and affect our operations overseas. And I think it's something very important that you all need to know, and I'm going to share that with you in a moment. Now, tonight, we're going to be talking about, among that issue, which is very, very important for you to know about, and what the President of the United States is doing to protect our country and to protect our troops. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, what do you think of this? President Obama is on tour again. And not only is it a apology tour, but he is on tour, ladies and gentlemen, talking about how he saved America, how Barack Obama saved the economy, and how it is him and not President Donald Trump who is actually responsible for the economy recovering. So we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about all the media hype regarding chaos, quote, chaos in the White House. We're going to be able to share with you why the New York Times and why other media outlets got this all wrong. And in fact, they got it in reverse. And what do you think about Joy Behar? Well, we're going to talk about her and what she has to say about Melania Trump. And we're going to talk about President Trump and what he has to say about this unbelievable proposal by an international organization that could very well hurt our U.S. military and hurt this country. So we're going to be talking about those issues, including the midterms. But first, I encourage you, think about becoming part of the America Winning Coalition. All you have to do is email me at Steve. That's Steve at awcnj.us. That's Steve at awcnj.us. We have a chapter in New York. We have a chapter in North Carolina and here in New Jersey. And we're beginning to spread out across the country where we're advancing President Donald Trump's Make America Great Again message to people, not only throughout the United States, but around the world. I've been on multiple TV networks, including those overseas, talking about the president's accomplishments, as well as where he's guiding us as a nation in the years to come. Speaking of television, I will be on Fox Business Network tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. So look out for the FBN, that's Fox Business Network AM, 5 o'clock tomorrow morning Eastern Time. We're going to be talking about 9/11 and some of the national security issues that we are facing in the years to come. North Carolina, be careful. I understand that you are under an evacuation order, so please take advantage of that. I was on my way to North Carolina until we got word that the hurricane is going to be quite devastating. Very, very important. Folks, when I went to Louisiana during Hurricane Katrina, the problem that we faced down there was animals, dogs, cats, people's pets. I actually went down there and led a team of naval personnel and some police officers to rescue animals that were left behind. So you have an opportunity in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and those of you who live north of Virginia, you might want to keep an eye on things to see where this hurricane is headed. I always say prepare now. But prepare for your pets. Don't be left in a situation like they were in Louisiana where you're going to be told to leave your pet behind. That does not have to happen anymore, folks. We get enough warning. I've heard people say in certain states where there is evacuations being recommended that they're going to stay, that they're going to weather the storm. You can't weather 130, 40 mile an hour winds and floods, folks. Can't do it. Use wisdom, use common sense. You could always return to a place that your house is at or was at. You can never return to a place where your life is at or was at. Just remember that. And keep in mind for your pets and your neighbors. Look out for your neighbors who are elderly, who are on medication. This is a time when Americans come together and we work together to help our neighbors and our friends. So just try to remember, be safe and not sorry. All right. Let's talk about, in tonight's briefing, former President Barack Obama. He's going around the country, folks, telling everyone how he is responsible for the robust economy that we have now, that we are enjoying, giving President Trump no credit at all. But it was Barack Obama who put so many tough regulations on businesses that many of them left this country. It was Barack Obama who put so much of a tax burden on corporate America that they decided to leave by the droves this country. He put so much of a tax burden on the American people and on small businesses that they were closing up. People were losing their jobs. The unemployment rate was rising. It was not being lowered, and on and on and on and on. So President Barack Obama is running around the country telling everyone how wonderful he was as president. And the reason why he's doing this is that there are midterms coming up. And so he's getting people, or trying to get people, to believe that if they vote Republican, if they vote for the president's people, that everything is going to go right down the tubes. All what Barack Obama did, according to Barack Obama, is going to go right down the tubes. Now, look, let's face some reality. This is why we have programs like this. Let's talk about some reality. To begin with, I don't remember people telling me about a record low unemployment rate when Barack Obama was president. I don't remember minorities flying the flag and shooting fireworks and having a great celebration over Barack Obama's economic policies. I don't remember any of that. What I do remember, and what I clearly remember, is that Donald Trump, as candidate for president of the United States, made some promises. And his promise was that Americans would be first. He had a promise where he would cut taxes. Well, you know what President Trump did? He went against all of these pundits. He went against what people believe to be just another political promise. He cut our taxes. And not only did President Trump cut our taxes, he cut an immense amount of regulations where businesses are now wanting to come back to this country. You're going to start seeing a lot of businesses start coming back. And look, I got to tell you, when businesses come back, jobs come back. The GDP is the highest ever. Unemployment rate, lowest ever. How can you argue with these facts? How can you not give President Trump the credit for a robust economy? The stock market, record numbers, not like when Barack Obama was president. But you see, the media, and keep in mind, folks, the media would rather steer you, direct you away from all of the accomplishments of President Trump, and they'd rather talk about other things like the so-called non-existent, and God knows where it's going now, Russian collusion. The only collusion, folks, and I'm going to say this a lot as time goes on, the only collusion where there is at least circumstantial evidence was between the Democrat Socialist Party, Hillary Clinton's machine, and the Russians. But that's another time, another day, and another conversation. So when you hear or see, whether it be on social media or TV, that President Obama has now become the savior of the United States economy, don't believe it. And I always say this, don't take my word. I've asked people more often than not, folks, to do some research. Do some research. Find out for yourself. Get the facts. And you'll find out that it is the Trump economic policies that are saving this nation's economy. And let me add this also, folks. Keep in mind that this midterm election is so critical. That's why they have Joe Biden out there, Hillary Clinton out there. They've got President Obama out there, who, by the way, now those of you in California, please listen up. Orange County, California. What do you have in common with the state of New Jersey? New Jersey, listen carefully. There are 5 or 6 counties in California. Orange County, has a number of districts in that county. Most of them are Republican. But now the Democrats are going after every single Republican seat with vigor and with strength, with money. Barack Obama was there. You'll see Hillary Clinton go there. Biden, the whole Democrat socialist machine is going there. You want to know why, folks? Because if they flip just those districts, if they flip those districts from Republican to Democrat, the Republican Party and President Trump can lose a majority in the House, just in those districts, which leads me to New Jersey. In New Jersey, there seems to be a number of people across this country, also in certain spheres of the political stratus, if you will, who are solely underestimating the absolute necessity for Republicans to win in the state of New Jersey. If Orange County, California gets crushed by the Democrats, it may end up being the state of New Jersey that saves the Congress, that saves the president's agenda. This is why I've shared with Republicans, please put your personal grievances away. Just get them out of the way. I know, believe me, I know there's a lot of issues going on with regard to certain candidates running, maybe not embracing the president's full agenda. I get it. I understand. And I wrestle with this myself. But when I look at what is at stake here, when I look at the totality of circumstances with regard to where our nation is going, we need to think smart. So we need to think smart. We need to think Republican. We need to get, in the state of New Jersey, every single Republican elected to office. It's a must. It's a matter of survival for this country. I don't know what's going on in the Republic of California. There seems to be a revolution going on. They want to break away from the state. They want to do all sorts of different things, and maybe they should. But I do know what's going on in other parts of the country. The Republicans must come together, which leads me to this. I tell you what, as many of you, I am sick and I am tired of Republicans attacking Republicans. We've got some mayors here in New Jersey who are Republicans who are endorsing Democrats. You got some former Republican elected officials who are bashing the president. I mean, you know what? This really serves no purpose but to hurt this country and to hurt our candidates. So look it, I've got a lot to say, believe me, with regard to these people. I'm not naming them, and I'm not going to mention or I will mention some things they've done, but I'm not going to name them and take them to task publicly until after the midterms, because I don't want these midterms to be upset over some of the things that need to be said. I want the Republicans that are running for office elected to the House. I wanted them elected to office, folks. So I invoke Ronald Reagan's 11th commandment. We have an election going on. You know what? If you don't have anything nice to say about a fellow Republican, if you don't have anything nice to say about the president, keep quiet. Keep quiet. Because after the election, there'll be many of us that will give you a lot of reason to speak up. A lot of reason. But we'll have to wait until the right time and the right place. And now, with midterms coming up, this is not the time and this is not the place. We must stand united behind the president's agenda and the Republicans running for office that, at least for the most part, support his agenda. And we will deal with them after they get into office, believe me. You know what happens to politicians or people that run for office, folks? They got all these grand dreams. They're going to do this and do that. They're going to serve the people. Most of them, not all, there are good ones, but most of them end up serving their best interests. But we're smarter today. You see, we're smarter today. And those of us with the America Winning Coalition and other groups across the country, we're smarter, we're stronger. I can tell you, the America Winning Coalition, we have the resources, we have the finances, we've got everything we need to have very, very strong impact on elections. Believe me, we do. And that's why we don't ask for donations. We don't ask for any resources from anybody. We've got all that we need to have profound impact on elections. But a lot of it has to do with you also, if you're willing to step up and be part of that effort to make America great again. Now, I was on the air this week again and again and again. The New York Times editorial came up. Who wrote the editorial? When did they write it? Why did they write it? To begin with, I personally believe, and I could be wrong, but I personally believe that someone at the New York Times collaborated somehow with someone to write that article. I find it hard to believe that someone working in the White House, right in that White House, would actually do something so stupid and so ridiculous as to undermine the President of the United States of America and undermine our national security. Because don't forget, some of the things that were said truly undermine the president and our national security, like taking papers off of the president's desk, like shuffling things around so he doesn't see them. Who is this person to do that? Or who is this person to know someone who did that? Even the Democrat socialists are saying, look, this person needs to stand up to speak out. So many times newspaper reporters who used to be trusted, you can't be trusted anymore, they will use the word, we got this from a source. You never see the source. You'll never hear the source. You'll never find the source. You want to know why, folks? Because maybe years ago, I would say there were sources that you could depend on. I don't believe there's any sources. I really don't. I mean, there's too much of this is going on. And by the way, it's important for you to know that I do have meetings with people all over the country via telephone, and we've concluded that there is indeed a concerted, coordinated effort to undermine the President of the United States before these midterms. Folks, believe me, you don't have the New York Times come out the way the Times came out with an editorial right before the midterms. The vicious, unprecedented attack on Judge Kavanaugh, President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, to a point where a senator, Cory Booker, what an embarrassment from my state. I'm really embarrassed. I mean, he gets up and he tells the world that he's going to violate an ethics law in the Senate, and he's a Spartacus moment, and he knows he's going to suffer the consequences. When we find out later that he lied, that it was all a show, folks, an absolute show. So, you know, it makes me wonder. The Democrat socialists cry foul when President Trump says something. The problem is President Trump is, in fact, telling the truth. But here we have a liar, a senator who lied, who fibbed, who misled us. Where are the Democrat socialists? They should remove this guy from the Senate. You don't belong there. Wants to be a Hollywood actor? Go to Hollywood. But Senator Booker did that. He did that. What happened to that news cycle? Died right away. Died right away, folks. So you got Booker doing his Broadway show in the chambers of Congress. You got the New York Times editorial. You got the attacks on the judge. And then we have this. Folks, then we have this. Joy Behar and the people on that ridiculous show, which I don't watch, The View. I don't know what people are watching, but it's called The View. All right. Joy Behar and some of those people with her attacked Melania Trump. They attacked some of the things she's trying to do for children with regard to education, bullying, and cyberbullying. But worst of all, they attack her, the way she speaks. They attack her language. They imagine attacking the First Lady over the way she speaks. This is what these people do. Could you imagine if the president, you or me or any conservative, attacked somebody the way they speak on the left? Boy, this would be headlines for weeks. This would be headlines for weeks. So they went off and they attacked the First Lady. Another part of the coordinated attack against the President of the United States to distract everyone. Well, I've met the First Lady, all right? My wife and I had the honor and pleasure of meeting her. Gracious, kind, smart folks. Hey, Joy Behar, smart. She's smart. She speaks 5 or 6 languages. What language do you speak, Joy Behar? You can't even speak, let alone attack a fine individual with class and character in the First Lady. So you see, so you got a Hollywood clown doing her show, trying to do it at the expense of who I believe is one of the finest First Ladies that this nation has had in the White House. But this is part of that coordinated attack. Attack the president, attack his wife, attack the conservatives running for office, attack Ivanka, all right? Attack Jared, attack Eric. Just go after them all and let it build up so that the people who support the president, and especially those guys like me who have to be on Fox and CNN, we're going to keep them so tied up and so distracted that they will not know what's coming next. Well, here's what's going to happen, folks. We're not going to pay attention to that anymore. We're going to go on the offensive. And you know what we're going to do when we go on the offensive? We're just going to ignore them and start talking about, as we have been, but with more emphasis and more vigor and more strength, the president's agenda and his accomplishments. Because I notice when we send our newsletter out, and I'll tell you that in a minute, when we send our newsletter out, the responses I get is overwhelming. Gee, I didn't know the president accomplished this. I had no idea that the president accomplished that. That's because, folks, not your fault. The media is not letting you know. The media, for the most part, are creating false narratives, interpreting the news, not giving the news. And I'll debate any, and look, at some of you news people I know watch this broadcast. I mean, you're watching everything I do. I tweeted something out last week, and I got a call from a news media outlet, believe it or not, folks, in New Zealand. And it was a pretty good show. I mean, I was on that show. We kind of sparred a little over the president's policies, but I learned something. They're watching, they're looking, they're listening, And anything that they can pick up for a new story, they will. So keep that in mind. But always tell the truth. Always tell the truth. That's why I've encouraged people, when you get on your Facebook page or social media, you know, and I'm sick and tired of getting stuff about Soros and Clinton. I don't care about those people. I tell you, just delete that stuff. Don't pay attention to it. And what we send to you or what other groups send to you with regard to the facts about the president's agenda, just send that out. Just send that out, folks. And believe me, it'll pick up a lot of traction. We see it happening here. Our Facebook pages are up to 20,000 and growing. Our YouTube is now, if you look at it, over 2,300, up from, I think, 1,000 last week. Our Twitter accounts starting to climb past 46,000. I mean, not all of them may be friends, but they're watching, they're listening. So we're having some impact, and you're having impact. So we get back to the media creating a narrative that is to distract us from the facts and the accomplishments of President Trump. For example, ready for this one, folks? You got to hear this. What's coming up this week? All right, I'm going to give you a little head start. What's coming up this week after we have the 9/11 ceremonies and the commemorations of all of those heroes, those first responders that gave their lives in trying to rescue those poor victims of 9/11. After that news cycle goes, and believe me, it'll go fast, the way the mainstream media is, they're going to focus in on chaos, quote, chaos in the White House. Who's running the show? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? Who's in charge? They're going to talk about chaos in the White House. Well, let me give you a couple of facts regarding the so-called chaos. Is it chaos in the White House that has delivered to the American people the strongest economy in our lifetime? Is it chaos in the White House that is causing American companies to leave their overseas buildings and to come here again and to build and make American? Is it chaos that has taken a depleted military and rebuilt it to a point where we are back as the strongest, most powerful military on the face of the earth? Is it chaos that somehow, some way, through this chaotic attitude that these people claim are in the White House, how is it that through chaos that we got a North Korean dictator to sit at a table with the president of the United States? Never done before. So where's the chaos in the White House? Fake news, folks. False narratives. There is no chaos in the White House. None whatsoever. I was down there a few times. I speak to people down there. There is no chaos. It's a lot of hard workers, a lot of hard charges. So don't you believe there's any chaos in the White House. But I know where the chaos is because I've been in the rooms where there's chaos. I've been in the news media rooms where there's chaos all over the place. They're trying to find things. They're working overtime. Find something on Melania. Find something on President Trump. How about Eric? Oh, wait a minute. Maybe Kellyanne Conway, we could find something on her. This is what they do. They're not reporting the news anymore. And they're being driven into such a chaotic situation because of the accomplishments of the president. They have to start to invent news. And I would challenge any reporter. Give me a call. Give me a call. I'll talk to you. And I'll tell you right to your face where your so-called profession of journalism has been corrupted and has died and buried in the grave with Walter Cronkite, that fine reporter, or Edward Morrow, or any of those great journalistic giants of the past. There is no chaos in the White House. There's chaos in the editorial rooms and boards of this country. And all that, folks, all of that is absolutely driving them, the left, the socialists, the Democrats, to a state of meltdown. Now, let's go to what you have not heard about and probably going to hear about real soon. Remember what I'm about to share with you. The International Criminal Court. International Criminal Court. Now, the International Criminal Court is a body that I believe was somewhat agreed to, could be wrong, but just check it out, agreed to by nations all over the world, including the United States years ago. Now, the International Criminal Court, I believe, well, I'll know this, the International Criminal Court, it is designed to bring to justice war criminals. So now the International Criminal Court wants to put the United States in a position where if they feel that United States soldiers, airmen, and sailors and troops committed some sort of a war crime, that they could drag them into an international court, an international tribunal, and have a trial in some foreign country. Could you imagine the Ayatollah as the judge? Who picks the judge? Who's going to pick who to judge American soldiers and troops? Under this president, it's not going to happen, folks. Not going to happen. Our troops have always done the best they could to make sure that civilians were protected. Our troops never occupied any country. Sure, you have one or two that may, just lose his mind for whatever reason and do something they shouldn't do. Last week, I was on the air with someone from another country, and they were telling me that the United States, worst country in the world. We occupy people all over the world. So I asked them, where do we occupy? Where do we occupy? We conquered Japan. We rebuilt the country. We conquered Germany. We rebuilt the country. We conquered Iraq. We're trying to build that country. Where are we occupying, folks? You see, so you have the fake news with their false narratives. You got these other countries with an international criminal court. Please remember that. You're going to be hearing about that. Where in the view of certain people around the world, other world leaders, if they feel that American troops committed an act that was illegal in time of war, they'd be arrested, dragged into a court. Can you imagine that? Ain't going to happen. Won't happen under this president's watch. Believe me. So just keep an eye on that. And as I said earlier, I'd share with you about our newsletter, because I'm looking at the clock and I always say 30 minutes is 30 minutes, folks. We're not going to keep you here all night. Our newsletter, the Make America Great Again update briefing, goes out every week. We used to send it out on Mondays. We're going to send it out on Tuesdays now, because after these broadcasts, I get so many people who call or message me that they want it. So here's what you need to do. And I'll make sure we post this, okay? Steve@awcnj.us. Electronically, we send you our Make America Great Again newsletter, a list of the accomplishments of the President of the United States, a direct link to the White House press office, a list of our events, and a whole bunch of other stuff, folks, that I know you'll enjoy reading and getting educated about. Let me add this. Tomorrow's newsletter will have on it what I just shared you about the International Criminal Court. Now, my tech, Joe Albergo. See, I got this, folks. I got this gadget here. Joe Albergo just said, ask for questions. Okay, folks, if you have any questions, here I am right now. That's a good idea, Joey. The next 2 minutes, if you have any questions, I'm looking. Let's see. Okay, watch Joey ask a question. All right, folks, any questions at all? I got this little chat bar here. Feel free to ask me, and I'll try to answer them. Okay, well, the chat bar just disappeared. So it's going in and out. Like I say, YouTube Live is something new that we're doing. We were on Facebook Live, and I'm finding out that we're getting so many more people from around the world following us or watching us on YouTube. So if you have any questions, the next minute or so, pop it up there, and then I'll be more than glad to answer it. Well, there are people. There's a couple of things here about the International Criminal Court with some specifics. What I'll do, folks, is ask for that newsletter. Okay, let me write something here. All right, hopefully you'll get this. I'm going to put my email, eve@awcnj.us. Okay, here comes my email. All right, email that address that just came up, hopefully on the screen, and you will get our Make America Great Again newsletter. North Carolina, obviously, we're not there because of the hurricane. We'll be there in October. And we've got a whole host of other events coming up. One down in South Jersey in Salem County coming up on September 26th. And we're going to be there. So 29 minutes and 30 seconds. How's that, folks? Well, once again, thank you for joining me on this Monday night at 7:30 p.m. here on the East Coast. I know many of you around the world watch us, and just based on the number of people and views that we're getting, I'll tell you, I'm flattered that you're listening and that you're joining us. So that's it. America Winning Coalition, See you next Monday night, as we are on the air every Monday night here on the America Winning Coalition Weekly Briefing. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the President of the United States. God bless America. And folks, as I always say, and I always close, remember, God is still in the business of answering prayers. Man can't solve your problem. I know one person who could, and that's God Almighty. Thank you so much. Good night.